So, does life really begin after perimenopause? The current narrative may challenge that, but I'd like to offer another vantage point. This week, I sit down with Alicia Jones, who is an incredible fitness trainer, and we talk about what doctors tell you about fitness versus what's actually healthy and everything in between. Hi, I'm Adrienne Irizarry. I'm an East Asian medicine practitioner who is passionate about women's health and helping women to live their best lives. My goal is to put you in the driver's seat of your health, offering holistic solutions for a symptom-free life. Statements made in this program are for educational purposes only and not intended as a substitution for medical consultation or advice. We do not claim to diagnose, treat, or cure any diseases. This podcast is inclusive and welcomes all gender identities. The focus of the program is on biological function, and we will use the term women throughout, but it is referencing physiological and social challenges for biology, not identity. Come as you are, I am happy you're here and welcome all performances of identity. I hope you find something helpful in this show. Welcome back to another episode of the Reproductive Rebel podcast. I am so fortunate to be joined again today by Alicia Jones. Welcome back to the show, Alicia.
Yay! Thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here.
I'm so excited to have you. So there are just people that you meet and you connect with and you're like, I just got to have all the conversations with this person. Alicia is one of those people. So when we were having our screening call ahead of time, like there were so many good, juicy topics that came up while we were talking. I'm like, we're going to have to do several episodes. And she graciously agreed to do so. So today we're going to talk about some things that are really common that we all see, and we're going to bust some myths. How do you feel about that, Alicia?
I love busting myths. And actually, we do really get along. We were talking for about half an hour, talking about some myths and other things before we even got on here. So we might have to revisit some of the things we talked about before.
Yes, absolutely. I love the fact that she wants to be a frequent flyer on Reproductive Rebel, because there's so many good things to talk about with her specialty and what she sees in her practice. And I love the fact that her focal point is with women who are in this perimenopausal, menopausal, postmenopausal stage of their life, because I get so many questions around, what do I do? Because you feel like a foreigner in a land where everybody's speaking a language that you don't know, because your body is in one of the most fundamental life-altering shifts of your entire lifespan.
Yeah.
With your hormones changing, your neural network is rewiring itself, because you're moving from your earth years where you're bearing children into your metal years in Chinese medicine, where instead of pouring your energy into the creation of life, you are pouring your energy into your life and creating what you want, which is a very different perspective than Mom the Martyr. Now, all of a sudden, you're like, oh, I've lost myself. I want to reclaim myself. And I'm sure with the work you do, that's something you see all the time.
Oh, yes. It is this new stage of life. This stage is for you. It's also being able to let go of that old stage, because it is that almost transition of you've been doing everything for everyone else. You've been working hard for everyone else and doing what you need to do in that stage of life. And now it's like, okay, I have to let that go, start taking care of me. And it can be a very hard transition.
Absolutely. Because we've been so socially conditioned to sacrifice ourselves on the altar of taking care of everyone else.
That is, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And it brings up guilt for a lot of people as well. It's like, oh my goodness, but I still have to take care of so-and-so. And now you're at an age where there is ailing parents that you might need to take care of, or kids. Like, people are having children later and later. And so there's still kids that are around that you need to be there for. They might be adults at that point, or young teenagers at that point, but it's almost like, okay, you can let go a little bit, but you're not. So it's a transition.
It absolutely is a transition. And a lot of times during this transition, I see so many memes making jokes about being crazy and laying down on the front steps and having another hot flash, Gladys, so that you melt the ice on the front steps. And like, I've
seen that one too. Yeah.
I've posted some of these, right? Because they poke fun at this. But I also mention in the caption underneath that there is a spectrum of what is normal to experience during this transition. And then there are symptoms that we associate as normal with this phase of life that aren't actually normal. Your body is asking for love and support in some way. So one of the beautiful things that came out of our conversation, the first one that we had, because we've had some beautiful ones since then, is what doctors say versus what is actually healthy. Because I hear this a lot.
Yep. And you were touching on something. You go to the doctor, especially when you're in perimenopause, you go to the doctor, you say, listen, I'm experiencing mood changes. I feel depressed. I'm having hot flashes. And they'll just tell you, this is a part of aging. You just have to get used to it. This is what's going to happen now. And it is about figuring out, is that true? Is this a part of aging? Or is it that I need some help and support here? And we still don't get a lot of that support from doctors. There's some great ones out there, but it still is, I think perimenopause is still very taboo. And many doctors are just like, this is what happens. Get over it. Deal with it. Or throw some antidepressants in your way. Here, take the antidepressants. There you go. That'll help with the mood and be on your way.
Oh, yes. We very much live in Western culture in a pill for a symptom kind of experience. And as we age, I was really fortunate to have taken a class about aging from Michael Tierra. And he is for anybody who isn't familiar with Michael's incredible career, Michael is an herbalist and an acupuncturist and doctor of Oriental medicine. And he gave this half-day seminar on herbs for geriatrics. I hate to use that word, but after 40, your body patterns start to fall into that category, which is why it had that title. However, there are 3 patterns that start to emerge in the body regularly around aging. And a lot of these symptoms that we associate with aging can all be tied back to one or a combination of these 3 patterns. And which is really fascinating. And so like even the emotional piece, the anxiety or the depression, people talk about rage, right? Rage can come from stagnation, meaning that your energy and your fluids aren't moving well in your body, which can be one of the patterns of aging. Stagnation is a pattern of aging. It can also come from a lack of resources. It can come from that sacred rage that a lot of women have, where their voices have been stifled, their needs have been stifled for the good of the people for so many years that they get to a point where they're like, well, fuck that. Why do I have to be last on my list anymore?
Like, enough. That is the one I see the most with they're like, you know what? I keep on being really short with my husband, or I'm getting angry and upset with my husband because he wants me to make dinner every night. Go make your own dinner. Like, it's that sort of feeling that I see come across a lot. It's like, oh, everyone's still pulling me in every direction. Oh, just leave me alone. I've seen that a lot in what I do.
I'm sure you have. One of those things where sometimes the mental changes start happening before you start seeing the physical ones too, where you start questioning, well, why am I the only one that has hands capable of doing this? Like, you're a capable human, do it yourself. And I've had clients be like, so does that mean it's starting down the perimenopausal journey? And I'm like, yes, that is usually one of the first signs. And it's not coming from a lack of compassion. It's coming from the fact that you're tired. And as the veil of estrogen begins to lower, estrogen is responsible for fluffing and keeping curves soft. And it also tends to soften our tongue a little bit.
Yeah.
And then as that goes down, which is normal, by the way. Okay. I want to normalize this for a second because we tend to think this is where we have to step in with HRT.
Yeah.
And you're not broken having your estrogen decline. It's normal.
Yes. And you know what? On that note, too, we are incredibly lucky. I think we touched on this on the last podcast, but we talked about so much. So I can't remember. But we as women have gone through this with our estrogen levels and our hormone fluctuations, where in one day we can experience all emotion. That sounds almost like, oh, that's horrible. But no, it's wonderful. We get to experience and really understand in depth what empathy is and what connection is and what love and then frustration and emotion, all emotion in one day. And while men are much more keel, right? They have more of a standard one dimension or linear mood. But then we also get to experience that linear one dimension, the straight line as well as we get to go into postmenopause. And that's wonderful. Men can't say that they have experienced all levels of emotion and gone from the daily emotion and deep empathy into more even keeled emotion. We get to experience both. And I think that's celebration. That's something to celebrate.
I love that you brought that up because I don't think that many women know that. Let's start there. It really does show the two pretty distinct chapters of our life, from our earth years and the child rearing and the caring for others and all of that to our metal years. It is a very distinct difference. And there's also a misconception that women are wholly emotional in every phase of their life. And I like to ground the transition for perimenopause in puberty.
Yes.
You're going through puberty in reverse.
Yes. I was going to say that earlier, but I was like, we'll get there.
Yeah, you're going through puberty in reverse. So like you're not supplementing hormones during puberty because everybody goes, oh, they are being short and they're being like this because they are teens and it's normal and they need more sleep. It's normal. They're adventure seeking. It's normal. It is normal.
Yes.
But then we look at perimenopause on the other end and yes, we have more responsibility, which does add more stress to the equation during a time frame when we are very stress sensitive, just like when we're teens. But there's like no compassion for, I'm literally a teenager in a bigger body. Like, can you just let me sleep a little more? And please don't come at me with all your problems all at the same time because...
And that is definitely hard when you have like, you do have the responsibilities and you are you like still work in the workforce. It's not like, I'm going to skip school today. It's like, yeah, it's like you're full out. You have all of these responsibilities on top of all these changes that are going on and you just want it to go away. You just want it to be over. You want to go to sleep and wake up and then either be in postmenopause or take the hormones. And for some people, if they're really suffering, I've had clients that even with all the healthy eating and exercise and really watching their sleep cycles, they can't sleep at night. They are having hot flashes and their bone density has declined. And so they have chosen to go on HRT after a long process of doing all the right things. And that was excellent for them. Absolutely wonderful. But I think what's happening is there is an overprescription in our society in general for everything. I mean, we have also talked about weight loss. I think right now as well, it might be taboo to say, but I think there's also an overprescription of GLP-1s, which are like Ozempic or Wegovy or all of the ones that are out there. There's a place for them. And I think there's a place for certain people to be on these medications or on HRT. But I think we need to have a stricter understanding of who those individuals are. And there needs to be a better screening process.
Yes. Thank you for saying that because I see that in this demographic as well. Because our body starts to change, we get fluffier around the midsection while our hormones are going through this big process. And part of the reason the fluff goes there is because it more easily converts to energy. So if people understood that, they'd be like, oh, my body is essentially just trying to make sure I stay alive during this whole process.
Yeah. And fat excretes estrogen. That is why we tend to see a little bit of a gain of body fat during the perimenopause transition. It's not the same type of estrogen. It's an estrogen called estrone. It's not the same type, but you are still secreting estrogen, and your body is craving a balance with estrogen. And not to mention bloating. I mean, with hormone shifts, you could be feeling like you've got all of this belly fat when in reality, it's because you're bloated. And especially if you're going through the perimenopause part of the cycle where you could not have your period for like a couple months, but then you still get really bloated because your hormones are all over the place. And then you do get your period and it's like not ending. There's just a whole bunch that goes on with that.
Absolutely. And so seeing this is that pill for a symptom situation.
Yeah.
Right? Where you have the GLP-1 because the body is naturally holding a little extra. And I agree with you. There are certain things for certain people. And I'm not demonizing this across the board. But what I am saying is that I see all too often in like Facebook groups and things like this that somebody will ask a question and go, I'm holding a little more cushion around my midsection. What kind of exercise should I be doing? Or I'll see in women's weightlifting forums, I just hit 46 and nothing that I do takes care of this stubborn belly. Please send help. And everybody and their uncle chimes in underneath about what has worked for them, but it's not specific to that body.
Yes. And these other people that are chiming in, that is their subjective experience and what they are doing. There is no understanding, education behind it. There is not necessarily even science behind what they're doing. They're just like, hey, let's give this a try. And I'm seeing that as well, like, especially with the GLPs coming into effect right now. It's just like, hey, I still get to eat whatever I want. And I've lost a whole bunch of weight. And that's still not healthy. Like that's still not, so I don't know. We could get into big detail about that.
Oh yeah, we absolutely could. The one thing I do want to say about it before we close that loop is the pill for the symptom piece, right? What you described in the client, that HRT was a good fit for them. What had they done? They had already made lifestyle changes. They were moving their body regularly. They were being mindful and intentional about making lifestyle changes. And it didn't yield everything that they needed it to. And that's not how these things are being used. Is like, I am holding a little extra weight, so I started doing this. Or I'm not sleeping well. And that's where me as an Eastern practitioner, I'm like, well, but there's a root cause for this.
Yes.
Can we talk about the why this is happening in the first place?
Instead of masking the symptoms, you need to find the root cause and treat that.
Yes. Yes, absolutely. And so for a portion of the population, a GLP-1 or an HRT, hormone replacement therapy, could be a good fit depending on the parameters, right? But the vast majority of people want to live like they're in their 20s and they could burn the candle at both ends. They could eat whatever they wanted to. They exercised only when they wanted to take pictures of themselves in the mirror.
Yeah.
And they slept like trash and only gave themselves 4, maybe 6 hours of sleep before they rolled out of bed and did it all over again. Yes. And you can't do that as you age. You just can't. I had a conversation with a practitioner friend of mine and she goes, oh, if I could go back and undo the sins of when I was younger, she goes, I so wish I could have told my younger self that, yes, it's really tempting. And yes, you have the energy to burn right now, but just pace yourself, sister, because she goes, I'm paying for it now.
Yes. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. And that accelerates with age. So, you're trying to burn the candle at both ends. You're on HRT. Let's say you want to fit into the nice dress because there's a wedding coming up. And so you're on the GLP-1s as well. You're doing all the things and your body can't handle that. Your body does need better nutrition. It does need to move with age. We're talking about bone density and muscle and nourishment and feeling like healthy cognitively, like with your brain as well. So it's not like you can just kind of mask it continue to eat the cheeseburgers and all the fries and everything else and be on an HRT or a GLP-1 and everything's wonderful.
Yes. Yes. So in the work that you do and cycling into older age, some of the things that you see with your clients that you're like, maybe you should go have this looked at.
Yeah.
What are some of the flags for you in terms of they're doing XYZ, but they're not seeming to move the needle, or they're saying that they feel a certain way? How does that present in your work, since what you do as a trainer is intimate?
Yes, it is. Yeah. And we do discuss, of course, I'm not a doctor, right? So you need to get testing with your doctors. But a lot of times they'll say, I'm feeling really cold. My hands are feeling freezing. I've started gaining weight. My hair's falling out a little bit. They go to their doctor, does one simple thyroid test, the TSH thyroid test. The doctor says, oh, you're within range, which is a huge range, by the way.
It's huge.
You're within range. There's nothing wrong with your thyroid, because with age, as women, we tend to have higher rates of thyroid issues or thyroid conditions. So you need to get a full panel type of testing. And I find that doctors blanket it and you're within that number and you're fine. You're on your way. Where you know that something is wrong. You know that you're getting these symptoms. They're not normal. It's not because you're older that you're having these symptoms. It's because something underlying is going on and you need more in-depth testing. And I feel like when you go to your doctor, at least I have a new doctor and it is exactly the same way. I have to advocate for myself. I have to say, this is not okay. This is what's going on with me. Oh, but you're in range. You're fine. Everything's good. No, we need to do deeper testing. You really need to advocate for yourself and almost be a bully with your doctor at times if they are not listening. So that is one big one that I see. I have seen clients who, when we take a look at their thyroid number, I'm like, well, he said it was in range, but you have gone way up to the upper limit from where you were on the last test that you did. And that for you could have been your normal at a lower level. And now you're at this upper level. Something's going on. So that's one of the things I see for sure. Yeah. I also see a lot of times doctors saying, oh, you don't need to go for a walk. They told one of my clients, you don't need to go for a walk. I know you've got a heart condition, like you have high blood pressure. Don't worry about going for a walk. We have blood pressure medication. We'll just put you on the blood pressure medication and you'll be fine. Like, what kind of advice is that?
Pill for a symptom, guys.
There you go. Pill for a symptom. Seriously. Yeah.
Wow. That's insane. But there's an episode that's coming out about this very topic, actually, around like a pharmaceutical, and then you got a pharmaceutical to cancel out the symptoms of the pharmaceutical. And
Yeah.
I talked with a registered pharmacist about seeing that, and that even from their perspective as a trained registered pharmacist, that there are stops on the bus from natural perspectives and interventions before you have to include some of these things, or being able to reduce the medicine load, because it's become so saturated in our culture to just, oh, you have high blood pressure? Here's a pill for that.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yes. Yeah. I think I answered your question. Was that the question you asked? Now I've got brain fog.
Yes. No, that's exactly the question that I asked. Is something that you see in your practice, and the resistance training that you're doing does help that bone health.
Yeah. So, okay. And this is another one that just happened. One of my clients, her brother sadly passed away, and he was very active, but he must have had an underlying heart condition. He had a heart attack and just died. And in her history, she had a lot of her family members have heart disease, even though they had done like a treadmill test is when you go on the treadmill and they're testing your heart to see how far you can go in that test and to see whether or not there's any issues with your heart. But so she went to her doctor and she said, listen, I have a history of heart disease. I want a huge panel of all of the tests that you can do for your heart. And she had been asked to go to a specialist so that he would do these tests. And he's like, well, really, you're fine because you had done this walking on a treadmill test. We don't need to do any other tests. Are you currently exercising? And she said, yes, I have a trainer. I do high intensity interval training. I eat really well. He's like, how long are you doing the high intensity or cardio training? She said, well, it's a very high heart rate for a very short amount of time. And we have a 5-minute warm up and a 5-minute cool down. For a week, when you do high intensity interval training, you're probably getting in about 10 minutes of very vigorous exercise, very vigorous. He's like, oh, according to the standards, that's not good enough. You have to be doing 75 minutes of that, which is so wrong. He should not be giving advice on anything to do with kinesiology, sports medicine, on anything to do with heart health or nutrition. He doesn't have the education in that, but automatically people hear, you're a doctor, you must be educated in all things health, wellness, and nutrition. That piece of advice, if someone had listened to it, they probably would have had a heart attack, because you cannot go at all out intensities like that for that amount of time during the week. She'd be overtrained, she'd be exhausted, her heart would hate her with that amount. And he has no place to be giving that sort of advice. So we laughed about it afterwards, and she never went back to that doctor. But it's like, what the heck, doctors, get on board here. We all have our place, right? We all have our place to be giving information. And that was not good information for her.
Oh, well, and to your point, like, people do hear doctor, and there are certain assumptions that are made. And I see this all the time when I have doctors and nurses that come through the doors of my practice, and I care for them because they don't know anything about their cycle. There was a reel a little while ago, and I'm trying to remember the name of the doctor, but she was giving a testimony somewhere. And she was talking about, in medical school, I was never given more than one class in nutrition. I was never taught this. I was never taught that. And she was going through all the things that, as a board certified doctor, had been through her entire training and residency and had been in medical practice for several years at that point. She had never had training in basic things like cycle health and nutrition. And it's like, we're so focused on the alphabets at the end of people's names. And I'm not discrediting that. I did have a period of my career where I felt like I needed to go in search of making sure I had alphabet soup after my name to prove that I knew things. But then I realized, like, I could have doctor in front of my name, and it doesn't mean that I have the specialty that I have.
That's
like
it. Yes.
I've seen people who are doctors who are very good at their niche, but it's exactly that. Because the Western medical system is so siloed that even general practitioners are a specialist as like a jack of all trades.
Yeah.
But they're not niched down into the current research for sports medicine, the current research. That's why they send you to a dietitian.
Yes.
Because that's their niche.
Yes, exactly. Yes. And you get doctors that are doing things that I personally think are dangerous for women's health. Ketogenic diet, strict fasting protocols where you eat like once a day. Those for women do not fall. Like, we need to eat within our circadian rhythms, our cortisol rhythm, our melatonin rhythm. We need to eat. We need to fuel lean muscle, especially as estrogen levels drop. We need something that's going to help enhance lean muscle. And when we do these protocols like keto that disrupt our circadian rhythms, or we do things like intermittent fasting that also tend to enhance cortisol, they're really hard on our bodies, we're not giving the body what it needs, especially during a time that's hard for it. If you're going through puberty again, or reverse puberty, you need to be really kind to your body and not have protocols that are very harsh on the body. And you get doctors that have done the one nutrition class, that's it. How the heck they have the knowledge or understanding to be telling you to do keto or intermittent fasting?
Absolutely. You know? Sing it, sister. I'm so glad that we had this conversation, because I see this all the time. They're like, well, but my doctor said. And I have more often than not challenged that and been like, I would love to have a conversation with your doctor. Sign the sheet and we'll talk about your case.
Yes.
I'd be happy to do that,
I'm the number one advocate for my clients because I've gotten so many clients that have had tears coming back to me because there's something going on and the doctor is so dismissive and it's like they're invisible. They feel like they're going crazy. They're like, I just feel like I'm going crazy, but I know something's wrong. I know something's not working. And it's doctors sometimes. There's good ones. Yes. There are, but there are a lot of ones that I feel like I'm pushing and advocating for my client on the behalf of them.
And now a word from our Reproductive Rebel sponsor, Embody Space. Your cycle holds wisdom, and the Embody Space cycle tracking app helps you unlock it. Track your cycle in the only fully encrypted app designed to protect your most sacred data. Get daily guidance tailored to every phase, from bleeding to blooming, with rituals, herbs, lifestyle tips, dietary support, and more. All tailored for your body's natural rhythms, because your body's story is yours alone. Embody Space, your private portal to cycle wisdom. Download now and reclaim your rhythm. And now, back to the show. And it's sad too, because insurance companies and the system are dictating the way that medicine is practiced. So you could have a beautiful practitioner, because I haven't met a single doctor that went into medicine for selfish reasons, right? They go for the I want to help people reasons. And then they go through a rigorous medical training, which changes the way they look at the world, and by design. Mm-hmm. And then they are forced into a system where they're only allowed to have so many minutes with a client because it's a business and they have to churn people through, and it's a numbers game. I get it. It's frustrating, but I get it. The challenge is women more often than not get gaslit. Mm-hmm. And it takes 3 to 4 trips to the doctor before they are heard at a level where the action they went in for the first time is taken.
Yes. Yeah. Or they don't ever get heard. The doctor's like, listen, I've already seen you 4 times.
Yep.
There's nothing we can do. We did all the tests. You're fine. Everything's good.
And that's the thing. Your intuition knows that something is off. And this is the world that I work in, is that not all things that are quote unquote off can be quantified in testing. And so being able to create support and balance for the body, sometimes those symptoms of depression are alleviated simply by taking some stress off the plate and allowing the person to play.
Yes, exactly. Yes.
That doesn't need a pill. That is a lifestyle change. Mm-hmm. And that is where our bodies are crying for, screaming for, demanding that anything that we swept under the rug for the previous 20 years or so, we can no longer sweep under the rug. We have to face it head on. Mm-hmm. And that's energetic, that's emotional, that's physical, that's spiritual. When you go through this transition, I did an episode on it in season 2. It was really early, episode 4, 5, 6, somewhere in there of season 2. Talking about the 3 golden opportunities that you have to completely reset your health. One is at your first period or menarche. One is every time you are in postpartum. So it doesn't matter whether you had 1 child or you've had 3 or 7. It doesn't matter. Every time you've had a child, and this is pregnancy loss included, you treat your body as if you're in the postpartum, and you care for it and nourish it and allow it to rest and all of those things, you come out stronger and healthier on the other side. And the third golden opportunity is this perimenopausal transition. So when we're not making those lifestyle changes that we start being invited to make around 35, if we blow right through 35 and keep ignoring the fact that we're tired.
We suppress it down. We suppress it all. We just keep on going. And it's like, no, I'm just going to keep on pushing this down. That's the 35 range, I think.
Yep, absolutely. Absolutely. And if you sweep it under the rug and you try to ignore it and stuff it in the closet, it's just like any closet that gets overloaded. Eventually the door busts open and all the stuff falls out.
Yes. Yeah.
And that's what happens when perimenopause and the menopausal transition gets messy, emotionally and physically. It's because we didn't heed the warning shot we got over the bow around 35 to 37. And we just kept going.
Yep.
And then by the time we hit 40, 42, we're like, stop the bus. Let me get off. What is this?
One of the big ones I see is stress. And stress, we know from the science too, that stress enhances hot flashes. It disrupts sleep patterns. It suppresses melatonin because the cortisol is higher. So you have almost this cortisol to melatonin ratio, right? If cortisol is really high, your melatonin's not rising high at the same time. So I see people that are just like, I have to keep on pushing. No work, family balance. There's no me time. There's always this constant push and constant worry, constant fear of this, like what's going to happen. And that is really when you have these hot flashes, when you're like starting to feel bloated all the time, you can't sleep well. Like these are signs that something is out of balance, something in the life, a habit, the stress, the feelings that for a long time you were just pushing through. You can no longer push through in this phase. You can't. You have got to face it. You've got to make changes.
Absolutely. In Chinese medicine, that being scared awake feeling that you get between 1 a.m, if you quantify that in Western language, you're getting a cortisol surge at an inappropriate time.
Yes.
Chinese medicine looks at that and calls it liver yang rising, meaning that energy shoots up to the top of your body and you are scared awake. You're wide awake. And there are variations on that theme, right? When people come to me, they're usually at I get scared awake and I'm wide awake and I'm wired and my brain tries to solve all of the world's problems during that phase of the night. And I ask them, so when did you start floating to the surface of your sleep during that time frame? And usually like people look at me and their eyes get really big, like, ooh, how did you know? Because that's a warning. That's one of our warnings that this is coming. So there's stops on the bus where we get there. And usually symptoms have to be just like anything that you have to get really uncomfortable before you make changes, right?
Yeah.
And then people expect them to be like instantaneous and instant gratification. Like you
like popping a pill.
Yeah.
Like popping a pill. Yeah, that's it. Which is probably why giving the prescription for the symptom is just so easy. It's like, hey, this is going on with me. Can't sleep. Take a sleeping pill. Like I'm having hot flashes. I'll just HRT up right now. And I do think that the lifestyle habits have to be, especially stress. Yeah, stress. You have to be able to exercise and eat better so that you can start to understand what's going on and what needs to change.
So one thing that I want to add to that too, in terms of what needs to change, is the eating healthy is not a one size fits all.
Yes. No.
And there is a constitutional component from my training background that certain bodies need certain things. Certain people do not have the body constitution to support the carnivore diet. Certain people do not have the body constitution because it will make their symptoms worse.
Yes. And that is another, like when we're talking physiologically about the males and females, males could potentially do a lot better on something like a carnivore diet. Whereas for us, it does disrupt our cortisol levels. It's a stress on the body when the body's already going through stress. So if the goal at the time of perimenopause is for you to reduce your stress and honor the body, then the practices that you choose to do need to also do that. So that includes the nutrition. So carnivore, eating 1 time a day, eating 500 calories, that sort of thing is probably not relaxing your body, right?
Your body thinks that you're in scarcity mode trying to get away from the saber-toothed tiger.
That's it. Yeah. Talk about extra stress. You're definitely not sleeping at night with that.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So as we're talking about stressors on the body, And I know we touched on this a little bit in the last episode. So if you have not seen the episode, listened to the episode where I talked with Alicia before, it was episode 15. We talked about exercise over 50, so I would highly recommend going back and checking that out. But for the context of this conversation, what kind of exercise during this phase is not going to generate that kind of a stressed response on the system so that you're not working against the harmony that you're trying to create?
Well, I think the type that does create more stress are these huge, long cardio sessions that people are trying to do that are like an hour, and they keep on saying, let's add more and more. So if let's say you're not doing this leisurely walk, like forest bathing, for example, where you go into the forest and you're really feeling the trees and breathing in the air, and it's not this relaxed thing. Like we're talking about cardio, like do the aerobics class that's super intense. You're doing like a CrossFit that's very intense for an hour, for 2 hours. Like you're trying to accumulate more time, more and more time. That is such a stressor on the body. It's when we exercise, it releases cortisol, right? Which is good in this context because you're getting enough of that energy at first to do your workout. Cortisol rises really high, but then afterwards it helps dip way down. Right? But when you do this for 45 minutes, an hour, 2 hours, you're flooding your system with cortisol, which is just disrupting that system that's already stressed out at that time. So these huge, long, more cardios are not benefiting you. We know that weight training is really great for you if you can do a weight training. It helps to enhance testosterone, which is one of those hormones that tends to drop for women. A lot of women get scared. They're like, oh my goodness, my testosterone levels I don't want them to go up. I'm female physiologically, but we have testosterone as well. And we need it for libido. We need it to feel really good and strong. So doing weight training is really important. Also because as estrogen drops, we need to have that stimulus on our body. Estrogen used to help us enhance lean muscle. And when we don't have that same amount, we need something else that's going to help us enhance lean muscle. That's weightlifting, also going to help with bone density. And then some sort of practice to help you sleep at night. Like, what are you doing? Are you doing deep breathing? Or you talk a lot about Chinese medicine and the spiritual side of things. That is so important. I don't know about you, but I find that in my 40s now, and as I'm going through perimenopause, I've started to have this new awakening of revisiting spirituality. It's as though there's this, I need it in order to feel balanced and whole and at peace. And I think that is a big part of something that's needed in this next chapter as well. We need to start to find things that we feel at peace in our lives for. And I think that can help us with sleep, having some sort of sleep habit or hygiene habit to help you sleep better as well. Even deep breathing, meditation, relaxation like yoga or something that just brings you down a notch to help balance out the body. So that's what I'd suggest.
I love that. Now, when you do your weight training, you were talking about not long extended cardio. So do you train with people like in a circuit training style then?
So everybody's different. Everybody is at different phases as well of their journey. So my very advanced people, right now we're doing a HIIT and strength training protocol, and those are more advanced ones. So we could do a workout that's 30 or 45 minutes with high intensity interval training in between. The two big bangs for your buck are high intensity interval training because it's short bursts of all out intensity, and then you are brought down again. I think we talked about this when I was talking about my client and how the doctor said, don't do that. Yes, do that. It's one of the most beneficial. And then we do weight training in between. And that's just more of a time saver. For me, for example, I'm not where my clients are. I will say I'm advanced. I hope I'm advanced. I'm like doing this for a living. So when I do my workouts, I go through very heavy cycles that do not have HIIT involved in them at all. I'm focusing on lifting as heavy as I can for like anywhere from 5 to 10 repetitions at this phase that I'm at right now. And I cycle myself through different ones. And my cardio is done on a separate day completely so that I have the energy to do that. But that's where I'm at. So people are all different. I don't do 2-hour workouts where I'm doing my hour of cardio and my hour of weight training, but everybody is different. And I don't think it's beneficial to be doing more than 45 minutes unless you are somebody that, as a part of your journey, you do want to do like a triathlon or marathon or something like that. But you need to make sure that you've got weight training in. We know that with age, weight training needs to be a part of the equation for your best quality of life and your bone density and strength.
Yeah, absolutely. How many days a week? So from a Chinese medicine standpoint, I can justify the weight training too, because so we're looking at it from both sides of the coin, right? Because it builds kidney qi. And our kidney qi governs our longevity and the aging process as well as fertility, but it's a big player in the aging process. And so you have that muscle tug on bone. Kidneys govern the bones. And so you're strengthening the energy in that system and helping a graceful aging process.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah. So I tell my clients at least twice a week, 3 times if possible, but being mindful of intensity as well. And then I direct them to people who are professionals in this particular area, because then it's just reinforcing the same message, right? So I actually have another curious question. So there are an increasing number of women who are finding themselves, and you had mentioned this in the beginning of the episode about taking care of aging parents, some of them having younger children, because there's an increasing number of women. I saw a news article that came out the other day that this is the first time in history that there are more women in their 40s having babies than teens. Right.
That's interesting. I did not know that.
Yeah, I just saw it recently and I was like, wow, that's a statement in and of itself. And so there are a lot of women who are finding themselves in their early to mid 40s with really young people at home. They are maybe a year to 3 years postpartum. How do you get started if you're in this phase of life and you have these needs that your body is asking for because of where you are in your aging process, but also have, I can't go to the gym because I'm juggling a little person.
And the sleep. I mean, you're not sleeping through the night. So one of the big things is to have good sleep trumps weight training and exercise in general. If you have to choose between getting a good night's sleep or getting in your exercise, sleep matters most. So by all means, prioritize sleep. You're not being lazy. You're not doing less than you should. You are creating more strength at that time. You are whisking out all of the stuff in the brain that needs cleaned out. You are regulating your hormones better. You need sleep in order to do that. So first and foremost, prioritize sleep. And then if you're just getting started with strength training, you've got some really great things that you can use at home, like your baby. If you're holding your baby and you're doing a couple of little squats, if you can, if you've been cleared to do exercise and do that, your baby grows very fast. That's a weight that grows. You are lifting up your child no matter what. Lift your child, sit down, stand back up with your child. There you go. There's a squat right there. So you can start to use these like incidental ways of getting in exercise that don't have anything to do with a structured gym workout. And I think it's just about allowing yourself to heal and understanding that, yes, like your hormones are both postpartum, but you are also going to be going through your fluctuation right away, like right into that. So honor your body, listen to your body, and focus on your nutrition at that time, because that is something more you can do, and sleep. And then use the incidental exercise until you're feeling like things are more balanced, that you are able to start strength training. I don't think that you should put that pressure on yourself, that you should be lifting and taking care of your baby and not sleeping and just trying to grab whatever to eat. Like, it's a time where your baby and you, that bond is the priority, I think.
Oh, I love that. So you hear that, everybody? Sleep over exercise. Just want to reiterate that, because we feel shame and guilt when we don't work out. I'm guilty of this. I'm not saying this from a place where I have all of that figured out. I mean, I used to be a martial artist and training was part of my life. And so at the time of this recording, my son's 7 months old, and I put him in a backpack and I go for walks with him. I have a weighted walk.
I think that is a real thing. I mean, your body doesn't know that's a baby that you've strapped onto you. Like, it doesn't know the difference between a knapsack and a baby. It just feels that weight on the bone and the muscle. And it feels that energy that you get from your walk. It feels the serotonin levels, like your happy hormones rising. And you're really benefiting yourself by doing that. You're bonding with your baby doing that. Every time you're like, your baby now at 7 months does not weigh the same that your baby did, like even like what, a month ago?
Oh my gosh, he's changed so much in the last 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I'm just like, holy cow, man. But I offer that as an example though, because we really do discount, like if we're not in the gym and we're like lifting dumbbells, that we're not doing anything. And your body has weight. Your baby has weight. Your toddler has weight, and they cling on you. And you holding them and doing activities in your house, you are doing a weight-bearing activity.
Yes. I will say this though, when you are lifting your baby as your weights, and that baby is growing, you have to switch sides. I cannot tell you how many people I know that have repetitive stress injuries on one side of their body. They end up getting completely off balance. So their right side is stronger, their hip pops, so they end up getting back issues. Because when you're holding a baby on your side, for example, like an older baby, like more like your toddler, you pop your hip out. So that's a constant hip pop on the one side only. You create really short, tight muscles in your abs on one side, in your low back on the one side, and not on the other. And so the hip level, that starts to shift, and you start to notice more back issues. You notice more injury. You've got to switch sides when you have your baby, okay? Every single time. Just try and remember, okay, picked up baby on the right, now pick up baby on the left.
Yes, my son totally has a side he prefers, but I force him to the opposite side because, and he'll growl the entire time he's on the other side because he just has a preferred side. But I do that too. I have a little sling that goes across my body so that he can sit on it so that I don't pop my hip too much, which does help. But, all of those things, like, don't sleep on these things, ladies, because this is weight. And my son sleeps like a champ the days that I put him in the backpack and we go out and we go for a short walk. All that time outside, he's like stimulated in all the right ways. He gets all kinds of fresh air and he sleeps like a dream.
And you did exercise at the same time.
Exactly.
You did exercise. That counts.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And it's good for your soul. Like, it's giving you that peace in nature. And depending on the time of day, the light that is influencing your eyes is helping with your hormone expression.
Yes.
Like, the gym and working out and being fit and all of these things does not necessarily have to look like a gym membership, walking through the doors and picking up dumbbells.
Yes, exactly. Yeah. And if in the future you want that, the time will come. I mean, your 50s are still just around the corner, right? I mean, things might be a little bit more settled then. People are under this impression if they don't do anything right now, it's too late. And it's never too late. It's not too late. You haven't missed your window. There's going to be plenty of opportunities. And there are times to give birth and heal your body. And then there are times to say, okay, I'm at a place where I can go to the gym or I can do something that's a little more structured.
I love that. I love that. There's a season for everything in your life.
That's it. Yeah.
And now we will take a short break from our episode to share an offering that will take your healing to a whole new level. How would it feel to stress less, feel more spaciousness in your body, all while reducing physical symptoms? I can tell you from personal experience, it's one of the most empowering and freeing experiences one can have. Rebel Remembered is a year-long journey using goddess archetypes, body wisdom, and ancient modalities to bring a level of health to your body unlike anything else. As a Chinese medicine practitioner, it has always been clear to me that the emotional body is at the root of physical symptoms in the body. This program is truly holistic, addressing physical symptoms by exploring spiritual and emotional themes, much like this episode.
This opportunity only opens once a year, so be sure to get on the waiting list for when enrollment opens this fall. The link is in the show notes. And now, back to the show.
So if I could talk to you forever. So we are going to do another episode. So be sure to subscribe, set reminders, all of that kind of stuff so that you can continue to hear Alicia's and my amazing conversations. But if you were to leave our listeners with a final thought, what would that be?
Honor your body, listen to your body. And whatever stage you're at right now, whether you've just given birth or whether you are in perimenopause, listen to the signs that your body is telling you. It's not a time to push them down. It's a time to connect with yourself and really give your body what it needs, no matter what that is at this stage or season.
I love that. I love that. So if people are looking to work with you, Alicia, how can they get a hold of you?
Well, I have a free masterclass. If you are ready for something more structured, it tells you how to do your weight training and your nutrition as we shift in life. So I'll give you the link to that. You can go to my YouTube channel is like the #1 place that I love posting, or you can go to my website is aliciajoneshealthyliving.com.
Wonderful. Well, thank you so much for joining us again on Reproductive Rebel. And until next time, everybody.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining me for another episode of Reproductive Rebel. Reproductive Rebel is recorded by certified peri-steam hydrotherapist and acutonics practitioner, herbalist, and Chinese nutritional therapist, Adrienne Irizarry of Moon Essence LLC. If you are interested in setting up an appointment for one-on-one support, ordering from our store, or checking out our course offerings, visit our website at moonessence.life. Be sure to subscribe to our newsletter and get insider information on upcoming events and offerings. Join the conversation. Like and follow us at Moon Essence Me on Instagram, Facebook, or LinkedIn. Your voices make this program possible. Thank you all for your continued support.